Alright, what's up everyone? Welcome back to another video. This one's going to be a relatively short video, hopefully. We'll see, but so I previously installed some SuperPro polyurethane bushings on the car, and the driver's side bushings kind of cracked. So I'll show you guys in a moment, but in this video we're just going to go ahead and replace the spacer that cracked on my Yaris. So let's go. Alright, now that we got the wheel off, here you can see a little bit better. So yeah, the top one is all cracked and the bottom spacer is all nice and still intact. So we got to replace that. So as you can see, it's almost, I mean, if that spacer goes, then this whole control arm moves up and down. So that we need to replace. Alright, so just for comparison, this is the passenger side. As you can see, the top spacer is actually still intact, and so is the bottom spacer. So this side is perfectly fine, but I think I'm just gonna go ahead and replace the spacer, unless I see that the bushing itself, the polyurethane bushing in the control arm, is bad on the driver's side. Then I might have to actually replace the entire bushing itself, but for now I'm just gonna go ahead and disassemble it and then replace the spacers and then reassemble it. As you can see, this is a brand new kit from SuperPro. Luckily for these are lifetime warranty. So as long as you contact them and you provide them a order number that you previously ordered one of their bushings, you can actually get them shipped to you. All you have to do is just pay for the shipping and you get basically a brand new kit. So it's nice to know that these are lifetime warranty. As long as you keep the order number that you purchased from them or actual dealer, you should be able to get these replacements pretty easily. So we'll go ahead and open it. Right. So same thing like last time. Right, we have a spacer, crush tube, another spacer, and the bushing itself. Right, and we actually have another set for the both other side, right? And as well as the installation grease and a set of instructions. Alright, so just like the instruction says, right, you have these parts. So this is the polyurethane bushing itself. This actually sits inside the control arm. Right, this gets pressed in like I did before. And then you have your spacer, right? So this is the item that is cracked essentially on my car. So this is what we'll be replacing, but the way this sits is it sits on top of this, and then you have your crush tube here. It goes like this. This goes inside here. Just kind of goes through like this, and then you have the bottom spacer that sits on the bottom, right? And so this is your entire assembly right here for the control arm, right? But then this is the item that's essentially cracked on the Yaris, and so to get to this requires pulling out this entire assembly. And if you watch my previous video on when I installed it, this section right here is actually really difficult to pull out from the control arm or from the car itself because of the way they designed it. And so essentially there's like a C channel. So if we're looking at a top view, there's a C channel on the car, right? And then this essentially slides in like this, right? So you can imagine like this, right? And then this prevents side to side movement. But in order to take this out, right, you gotta essentially you gotta pull the control arm forward and then sideways. And so that's kind of a little bit difficult to do, which requires a disassembly of a lot of the control arms and all the components. So that will require us to disassemble and break some joints apart. So here's another look again. As you can see, top spacer is broken, and then there's that little lip, that C channel over here. You kind of see part of the crush tube in silver, and then there's like a little lip on the outside over there. So yep. So right, in order to get to this part, we got to break up. It's a little hard to see, but right. So this is the front of the control arm that we need to remove the bolt, and then we also need to disconnect the ball joint here that's connected to the upright here. So I'm gonna go ahead and break all those joints apart, and hopefully we can get to the control arm real easily. Alrighty guys, so went ahead and disassembled the control arm. So first things first, right? So this is the item that broke. So this is the spacer that was on the top. As you can see, it just clearly just split right down the middle, or right across. And so this kind of came apart, and then so this right from earlier, right? This is the crush tube, but this is the top. So this goes up here, right, and then the bushing sits over here, and then obviously this cracked, and so yeah, so that caused it to essentially go like that, right? And I think the back side probably was the thing that was kind of keeping it from going like this, like essentially just falling through. I think because of the assembly and everything and the weight of the vehicle, probably kept it up for the most part. And so it was a little bit dangerous driving around. But once I got the replacement parts, I wanted to go ahead and do this right away. So yeah, so this failed. As you can see, it does look a little dry. See, oh, I just noticed like it's starting to crack over here. That's probably because it was already bad, but it looks like, yeah. Not sure why this failed, but the rubber itself still seems pretty strong. Like it's not, still feels okay. So it's not dried out or anything, but yeah. So then this is the bottom piece. One thing I noticed was it had like this little indentation, probably because when it was sitting, I think it's on the bottom, right? It sits on the bottom, and you can kind of see it little bit deformed as you kind of rotate it, right? But that's probably because it was sitting uneven, so probably that's why it's caused that. But the biggest concern for me was obviously the bushing itself, polyurethane bushing on the control arm itself, and it actually looks pretty good. I don't see any delaminating or anything. It didn't look like this was coming apart from the actual housing itself. So I mean, everything looked fine. Everything looks okay so far. I mean, I'm just gonna have to go ahead and clean this up, but the bushing itself that's in the control arm actually looks okay, so I don't think I'm gonna have to worry about replacing this guy, but it's good to know that I have extras in the event that it does fail. So at least I have backups now. So I guess I should also inspect the forward one. Forward one still looks good. Nothing nothing too obvious, kind of stands out. Still looks okay. Insert's still good. The bushing itself is still good, so it's nice to know that these bushings are still kind of in good shape and everything. So I'm just gonna go ahead, clean this guy up, clean the crush tube a little bit, and then replace these spacers with the new ones, and then reinstall the control arm. Alright, so I went ahead, kind of cleaned this up a little bit, this crush tube, which I'll be reusing. Just wiped away any old grease that I could and kind of gave it a good wiping. Then went ahead, also cleaned the bushing itself on the control arm. As you can see, purple color is still there. There's a little bit of grease residue on the top, but for the most part, the bushing looks okay. Same thing on the bottom. It looks pretty good actually for being installed for I think about 3 years now, 2-3 years. Went ahead, also cleaned the front control arm bushing. Just wiped away any residue. Same thing. And then yeah. So these look pretty good now. So I'm gonna go ahead and replace the broken spacers. Right, we're over here. So this one right here specifically, right, this is an old one. I'm gonna go ahead and replace it with a brand new one. Right, so this was the brand new assembly. This is kind of how it goes. So I'm gonna go ahead and reuse the crush tube and the old bushing that's inside here. I'm just gonna replace the spacers itself. So I'll also go ahead and reuse some of this installation grease to kind of help install the new spacers in. Go ahead and put some grease on this guy. Right, so we got some grease. We're just gonna kind of put it all over. Make sure it's well greased. And we'll take our top one, slide it in. And we're going to go ahead and put a little bit more grease on this one. Just so when we install it on the bottom or on the bushing on the control arm, it goes in a little bit easier. So we'll go ahead. Just goes in easily, just like that. And then we take the bottom one. The bottom just goes at the bottom here. And that's pretty much it. Now we can go ahead and reinstall this control arm back into the car. Alright everyone, well that's pretty much it for this video. So yeah, I just went ahead, replaced this broken spacer from the SuperPro bushings, polyurethane bushings. Really quick, easy process to replace this. At least I didn't have to take out the old bushing from the control arm, so that's a good thing. Luckily it's still in good condition and I didn't have to replace it or anything. As far as the passenger side, I am going to leave it alone because upon further inspection it looks pretty much okay. I don't want to risk breaking apart any of the connections if I don't have to, specifically because in order to get the front control arm bolt from the passenger side out, I actually have to unbolt the engine mounts and everything, and I'm actually on a time crunch right now because I have somewhere to be in a little bit. So I'm just gonna stick to the driver's side, just replace this one, and luckily I don't have to do any alignment because I did not disconnect any of the tie rod or any of the suspension components. So hopefully the alignment stays within specs. At some point I will do a full alignment again because I feel like the car has been drifting a little bit one way, but that's for a later video at another time. But for the most part, this will be all I need to do, and so that's it for this video. So stay tuned for the next video. I got a couple more things that are on order that I want to install on the car, so stay tuned and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Shoots.